have a spring break. In scrolling on social media yesterday and throughout this time that we've been in quarantine due to COVID-19, I started to realize that there were many of us who were going through a whole lot of things. And though we are sitting at home and we're unable to grieve with our family or our loved ones, physically speaking, there are a lot of us who just need that spring break, whether it is a break in a regular routine, a break in just being able to feel your emotions, or if it's a break to be able to just acknowledge that where I am right now is a whole lot heavy. Okay, where I am right now is a whole lot heavy, right? So what this reminded me of taking this spring break, it is a break is a brief pause, right? We're going to take this pause, a break in the system. We're going to deviate from the regularly scheduled program, and we're going to allow God to continue to be God in our lives. Whether you've grown up in ministry all your life, or you were just grown up in a family that where it was, hey, stop all that crying, and you too big for that, or you too old for that. Hey, boys don't cry, sit up, put your head up, chest out. You don't let people see you sweat. Don't let them see you break. And we hear all of these things, and we grow up into all of these emotions. And in the time, it does feel like the proper way to handle things. But as you mature into an adult and you realize there are healthy emotions that we need to feel. Sometimes we are told not to feel and not to allow, and we grow up with that mentality, and we don't know how to take a break. We don't know how to take a break. Take the armor off, put down your superhero cape, and just cry if you need to. It is okay to not be okay. I felt that I needed to remind somebody of that this morning, that it is okay to not be okay. If you grew up in a time where you did not know that it was not okay to not be okay, then being in quarantine right now has you piling up a whole lot of emotions. If you are scrolling on social media, if you are watching in the news, if you are paying attention to your loved ones, if you have loved ones that are ill, and if you are usually the superhero who has all of the answers for everybody, then you have no idea that it is not okay to be okay. That you too, just because you cry, it doesn't mean that you don't believe. Your tears does not mean that you are not a believer. So I need you to feel, people. The way that you have the compassion of Jesus Christ, compassion comes from your ability to feel. If you are not capable of feeling, of being able to feel, then you are going to be restricting yourself of giving the world the compassion that it needs, because compassion goes beyond, I understand where you are. Compassion says, I can feel what you feel. You don't have to go through the exact same thing as somebody else to not feel the grief that they have. And there was Jesus who was on that cross. You know what he did? He felt us. And we need to allow ourselves to feel. So I am giving you the moment today. I'm giving you the moment today to take a spring break. Take a break, and I need you to break. Because in order for there to be a breakthrough, there must first be a breaking. And there are some of us, many of us, who are holding on to a whole lot of stuff. And you are saying that I've cried at the altar. I've sowed my seed. I've been diligent in serving God. I've been there. So why? What is holding me back? How do I get to this place? And for some of us, the truth is that you did a whole lot of stuff in routine, but you didn't take the moment to spring break. Okay, so here's where I got this message from. I was sitting on the couch with Kylie. Kylie is my niece. I have 3 nieces and a nephew. And Kylie is my niece from my sister. And we were sitting on the couch, and she was trying to wedge herself so nicely and neatly tucked into making sure she was every inch of me when she was near it. And she leaned into me, and I moved her arm, and I was like, Kylie, that hurt. And she said, TT, if it hurt, why didn't you say ouch? And that made me pause, because That seems like really simple, but it really made me begin to think like, man, how many times have we been in situations where it really did hurt us and we can articulate very clearly and without any emotions of feeling like, hey, that hurt. Like, we can acknowledge it because that is important. We can acknowledge it. But I didn't have a response to it because I wanted to acknowledge it and then move on with life. So when she asked me the question, TT, you said that hurt, but you didn't say ouch. Did you really feel it? And that floored me. Listen, at 4 years old, Kylie floors me all the time. Like, listen, so I started to think about it. And being a person that I am, if I could be transparent for a moment, and having a session with a therapist and talking to one of my friends that is a counselor, and she was like, you know what? If there was a gold plaque for compartmentalizing, Dominique, you hit the gold plaque for compartmentalizing. What does that mean? I am so, in having to be in leadership and in having to be the oldest and in having to be so many things for so many people in so many different situations, I know how to be like, hey, listen, I got this phone call, but I'm at work. For this moment, I am going to put away the phone call I just got because I need to do my job. I was a superhero in being able to compartmentalize what I feel because I needed to do my job. I needed to serve the people. I needed to preach my sermon. I needed to encourage this person. I needed to pick up that person. There were so many things that I needed to do that I didn't even realize that what I was training myself to do was take all of my emotions and say, I'm going to put you in a box over here and I'll feel that later. How many of you can be honest and say that later rarely comes? Like, let's just be honest. Give me some hearts on there. We could just be honest and say, sometimes the emotions that I should have felt in a moment that I put away for later, I don't get back to them in time. So by the time I do get to those emotions, now I am exploding over the fact that my shirt got messed up and I woke up late from work 3 months ago. Now something else has happened and I'm trying to figure out why am I responding that way to this small thing? And it's because your box of emotions got too full. And because you didn't acknowledge them, because you didn't recognize them, the smallest thing tipped over that box. And now you were sitting in a pool, drowning in emotions that you told yourself you were going to feel later. But later didn't come. Not in time. And we have to get to the moment where we don't just say, man, that hurt. But we allow ourselves to feel that hurt by saying, ouch. Listen, some of us just need an ouch. You trying to figure out why she going off on you at the register in Walmart and why everybody got an attitude because you don't know what she left at home that she didn't ouch about, that she just got up and went to work. And you know what? Because we don't allow ourselves to feel, we don't understand with the emotions of other people that we can point them out and say, now she was too dramatic for that. But sometimes you need a little drama tears. Sometimes you need to go from weeping to wailing. Some people need to just let it all out. A wail is a loud cry of emotion. Some of us try to weep in public, but we wail in private. Yeah, let's just be honest. As we learn this, it is a learned behavior for a lot of us. We weep in public and we wail in private. Because we think that at some point, somewhere along the way, I don't know whether you thought it in your mind. I don't know whether you picked it up from grandmother. I don't know if it was cultural, if it was religion. Somewhere along the way, you picked up this idea that I can never let them see me sweat. And then I'm reminded of in the Bible, Jesus' sweat was blood. You know how I can never let them see me sweat, but then my sweat began to become something that I was carrying. You know how powerful that is, man? So when I thought about this, and I promised, I told you I wasn't going to keep you long. When I thought about this, of course, I came up with this acronym for ouch. And here we are, experiencing our ouch moment in the spring break. The first thing, the O says that you have to offer yourself the freedom of expression. It's okay to say that you're not okay. Offer yourself the freedom of expression. I am not saying that you need to be rude. I am not saying that you need to be outwardly disrespectful. I am not saying that when you finish this video that you go call up everybody and give them a piece of your mind. First of all, you got to get peace in your mind before you go to calling people. But you need to offer yourself the freedom of expression. The freedom to cry if you need be. The freedom to wail if you must. The freedom to just tell someone else how it is that you truly feel. The freedom to be able to say, you know what? That didn't numb me, it stung me. There are a lot of statuses where I'm seeing that I'm numb. I need you to get out of the numb place by just getting into a feeling place. Offer yourself the freedom to express and acknowledge and expose those hidden emotions. The next thing you need to do is understand that trouble really doesn't last always, even if it lasts more than a few days. Write that down. Understand that trouble really doesn't last always, even if it lasts more than a few days. Trouble really doesn't last always. Always is so long. Always is so long. It is too long for your trouble to last always. At some point, there is a break or a breach in the system. If there is ever a breach in the system, always doesn't count. I know Brandon told y'all that, but I'm being real with you this morning. If there's ever a breach, if you can say, man, I always have trouble, but I did have a good day last week. Oh, that good day put a breach in your always. Trouble doesn't last always, even if it lasts a few days. Another transparent moment. I remember going through what I would consider one of the toughest heartaches of that I've ever experienced in my life, and it happened in my adulthood. I can't remember. I was between 25 and 26, and so during that time, I went through this situation, through this breakup, and I didn't tell anybody at first. I allowed it to happen, made my decision, and I didn't tell anybody what was going on. And my friend at the time, she said, well, Dominique, have you cried? And I was like, no. And she was like, why? I didn't cry because I was afraid that I wasn't going to be able to stop. Like that was legit my reason. If I start crying, I didn't think that I was going to be able to stop crying. It felt like the pain that I was feeling was going to last longer than I wanted it to last. And I didn't know what I was going to be able to do with it. I was so overwhelmed with emotions that it felt too heavy for me to even release them. Have you ever been in that moment where you were so overwhelmed with emotions that your emotions felt too heavy to release? But think about that. Something that is too heavy for you to release, then it must be too heavy for you to intake. If you feel that it's too heavy for you to let it out, then how good do you think it is for you to keep it in? So I was so afraid to cry because I didn't think I was going to stop. And she said, you're going to have to. And when I finally allowed myself to release, I kid you not, I cried 2 hours straight. 2 hours is a long time, but 2 hours isn't always. It's a long time, but it wasn't always. 2 hours straight, I cried. And she finally got me to a place by the time I was hyperventilating and I couldn't breathe. And she said, you know what? Okay, we got to bring it in. We got to bring it in. All right. And sometimes you can get to a place where you feel like it's too heavy. You can bring in someone else to say, you know what? I need to get this out of me because I need you to remember the moment where I told you if it's too heavy for you to let it out, then it's too heavy for you to keep it in. So after you offer yourself the freedom of expression and you understand that trouble doesn't last always, even if it lasts a few days, you have to commit to deciding that even though I hurt, I don't have to remain hurt. Feeling the hurt now helps me to feel the healing later, right? Feeling the hurt now. Think about when you're getting an extraction or a tooth extraction. It hurts. And that pain does last for a few hours. And when the numbing wears off, you still feel it and you feel it. But allowing me to get that tooth extracted, it allowed me to be able to feel that hurt enough so that I could feel the healing behind it. right? Because when I went to I got all 4 of my wisdom teeth pulled at one time. Listen, I wouldn't recommend that to anybody on God's green earth. There was a pain. Listen. So I got all 4 of my wisdom teeth pulled at all one time, and when I was in high school. And the pain was so excruciating by the time getting the extraction. And me and sleep meds don't really go well together. So I'm up because I need to examine you, make sure you know how to do your job, right? And so it took me a while to be up. And they say, you're not going to feel it, and you feel it, right? You're not going to feel it. It's not going to hurt that much, and you still feel it, right? But then I went through the pain and lost a whole lot of weight from those extractions. But the healing that came behind it, once I got over the hump of the pain of being hurt and feeling all of that, then I don't have the pain of wisdom teeth anymore. It only hurt for the moment that it was supposed to hurt. And I didn't stay hurt. Because right on the other side of me being able to express and feel that hurt and pain and get that extraction to happen and get those teeth out of me that were causing the pain. Once I got the thing out of me that was causing the pain that I went through because of that extraction didn't last so long. And then I didn't stay in pain because I released the pain. That's a word from somebody. The only way that I was able to get outside of the pain and walk into the healing is that I first had to allow the extraction to take place. I didn't stay in pain. I actually awarded myself the opportunity to be healed by removing the hurt thing. Keeping the hurt only keeps you hurt. Releasing the hurt will allow you to feel. But I promise you, if you go through the hurt, and whether it needs to be you releasing it, telling it to a friend, going into a church service, and going to a therapist or to counseling, because you know we're adding counseling with Christ now. We're advocates of that, right? And you're doing the following the steps and the healing process that they've given you, and you're doing those things, the hurt that it felt to have to release and is shared that to somebody else, you're going to outlast the release of the hurt. You allow yourself to heal because you're going to outlast the release of the hurt. You got to tell somebody out, I got to get this hurt out of me, because at the end of this hurt is healing, and I'm going to outlast the release because I'm going to a healed place. So after you offer yourself the freedom of expression and you understand that trouble really doesn't last always, even if it lasts for a few days, and you commit to deciding that even though I hurt, I don't have to remain that way. You have to hurt if you must, but don't forget to allow yourself to heal. Don't forget to allow the healing to take place. And how do we allow the healing to take place? We not only do we get to ourselves in prayer, and we trust that the God that is with me, the God that feels me, the God that is compassion, he is still capable of healing me. But we also get to a place that I am going to do the work. Whether it's the counselor at your church, the counselor that is a licensed therapist, whether it's your friend, I am going to be an active participant in seeing my healing all the way through. All the way through. I am going to be an active participant in seeing my healing all the way through. If the recommendation was for me to take these pills, one a day until the end of the bottle, right? Every 4 hours, I'm not going to stop at day 3 when I no longer feel the pain, and then I'm going to stop what they recommended. I am going to see the healing recommendations all the way through. If they recommended that I delete the number, I'm going to delete the number. I'm going to delete the text thread. Whatever it takes for me to stay in my healed place, that is what I'm willing to do. We like to start at the healed place, but we don't like to be good at finishing the healing throughout. You got to finish the healing that started. You got to be able to do the work within yourself and commit to your healing process. I need you to commit to healing. You committed to that hurt. You committed that all men were dogs. You committed that every woman can't be trusted. You committed to this is how everybody else in my family was. If you could commit to the hurt, then when you want to get to the healed place, you have to allow yourself and say, I'm going to commit to the healing as much as I was being able to commit to the hurting. When you get to a point in your life that you want to heal more than you want to hurt, then you're going to see your healing all the way through. And if that is a daily decision, if that is making a conscious effort that every morning I wake up, I say I forgive them. If every day, every time I have a trigger, I'm not going to let it put me in a place to where I am not triumphant. It triggered me, but I am going to triumph in this because I'm committed to my healing. Commit to your healing, because what you have been through, are going through, and will face later is temporary. So be encouraged in the midst of the storm, knowing there is a cease on the way. It's a cease on the way. We won't have COVID-19 always. Not always. Because at some point, there will be a cease in the raging of the waves. And in that moment is your reminder that always doesn't count. So I want to end with this scripture. In 2 Corinthians 4:17-18, it says, "For our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all. So we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but what is unseen. Since what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal." The pain that you see is temporary. The faith that you are believing and trusting in is unseen, it's eternal. Temporary, ouch, for an eternal heal. You got to write that down. It's a temporary ouch for an eternal heal. But I need you to take a spring break and allow yourself to feel. Because God needs you encouraged, free, and exposed and whole, so that we can then help others. It is my prayer that this brief message to you has encouraged your heart, and it releases us from a lot of bondage. There are people that in this time of quarantine, you are remembering and recalling a lot of things from old age and previous relationship and when I was younger and all of these things. Man, that is bondage. It is keeping you bound when freedom is available. It's keeping you bound and freedom is available. So give yourself the opportunity to feel and express those feelings in a healthy way, in a healthy environment, and stay committed to the healing process.